And did you know that today marks 30 years since that album dropped and changed everything? June 13th, 1995. And here to talk about it is the author of a new book out now called Alanis, 30 Years of Jagged Little Pill, Selena Fragassi. Hello.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for your time, and congrats on this book. This is so comprehensive. Very nice work.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Yeah. I'd like to know what you think was the very beginning of this effort. Like, were you listening to the record and you realized that the anniversary was coming up, or were you reading something? What made you decide to do this? Because you can tell a lot of passion brought this thing together. It's palpable when you read it.
Thank you for that compliment. Yeah, I've been listening to this album ever since I was a teenager. It's always kind of stuck with me. But when I was looking at some ideas for books to pitch my publisher, and they like these kind of like anniversary books, I noticed that in 2025, Jagged Little Pill was turning 30. And at first, I was dumbfounded it's been that long. And then I was obsessed with the idea of having to write it because I just love this album so much. And I had a great pitch, I guess, and here we are.
Oh, there you go. Okay. You got some great perspective from people close to Alanis Morissette in this book. Was there someone among those interviews whose words you think were absolutely essential to what this book became?
I think all of them. So I interviewed her Jagged era manager and publicist who were just key in marketing her and getting her opportunities. But then I also interviewed 3 female music journalists, fellow colleagues who I incredibly respect, and their perspective was amazing as well. So I can't pick out one. They all just contributed in a very healthy way to this book.
Yeah, and I like the idea of their perspective because a lot of people can write about music, but a lot of the music journalists at that time were men, and these women brought this perspective that really was part of the changing culture at the time. Do you agree?
Yeah, bingo. That's why I wanted to seek out female music journalists in particular, because their voices weren't really in the mix as much in the 90s when Jagged Little Pill was really cresting. So I thought, this is an album celebrating such a powerhouse female artist. I want to bring that perspective into the book, too.
Is there anything you think is misunderstood about Alanis Morissette? Like, is there a perception of her that's out there that you think is off?
I don't know as much nowadays, but when Jagged Little Pill first came out, immediately she was branded as this quote-unquote angry young woman. There were concurrent magazines, Rolling Stone and Spin, had covers of her in the same month, November of that year. They both had, to an extent, that kind of branding and headline. And it was just so off base because, yes, You Oughta Know was the first single, and there was a lot of passion and rage behind it. But if you dove into this album, there's a whole gamut of emotions on it. It's not just anger.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it. But you're right. That was out there an awful lot. Angry young woman, and what a caricature, an off-base caricature. I hate to make you do this, but I have to ask if you have a favorite song from Jagged Little Pill.
I do, and it changed actually when I was writing this book. I
how
probably would
interesting.
have said, yeah, right. I probably would have said You Oughta Know up until this point, like a lot of people. It was just such a cannon out of the gate, just an amazing bullseye of a song. But as I was listening to the album 100 times last summer to write this book and really dove into the making of this album and her intentions with it, the song Right Through You became my favorite. And it's really because I think, first of all, the music on that song, it's such a great rock song. But I think even more than You Oughta Know, her passion, her fiery spirit, her conviction comes out on Right Through You. That song was directed at the male music label executives who dismissed her, didn't want to sign her, who quote unquote looked at her behind. She was nothing more than just a trophy icon to them. And that was her clapback at them. And it's a brilliant song.
Oh, the catharsis of the deep cut. Oh, nice one. I love that. Selena Fragassi is the author of Alanis, 30 Years of Jagged Little Pill. It's out as of this week. Today is the 30th anniversary of Jagged Little Pill. This is such a great book, Selena. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the interview.